In the quiet town of Willow Creek, there was a park nestled between rows of houses and small shops, a place where children laughed, dogs ran freely, and couples strolled hand in hand. Every morning, before the sun had fully risen, an elderly man named Thomas walked through that park. With a simple trash bag in one hand and a reacher stick in the other, he picked up soda cans, candy wrappers, stray paper cups, whatever didn't belong. He did this quietly, without fanfare, and by the time the neighborhood woke up, the park looked spotless, as if nature itself had tidied up. No one knew who he was at first. Some thought he worked for the city. Others assumed he was just one of those odd retirees who needed something to do. But Thomas didn't wear a uniform. He didn't carry any city-issued badge. He wore an old denim jacket, a faded baseball cap, and sturdy walking shoes, the kind people wear when they're used to long walks and longer memories. The truth was, Thomas wasn't cleaning the park for money, and he wasn't doing it out of boredom. He did it for Emily. Emily had been his wife of 42 years. They had met in college, both studying literature, and had fallen in love over poetry, coffee, and long walks through parks just like this one. When they finally settled in Willow Creek decades ago, the park became their sacred place, their Sunday morning ritual. Emily loved nature. She would stop to admire flowers blooming after a rain, smile at squirrels chasing each other through the trees, and frown deeply whenever she saw trash ruining the view. "It deserves to be beautiful," she would say, pointing at the grass or a bench covered in graffiti. People forget that beauty takes care. When Emily passed away from cancer 3 years ago, Thomas was shattered. The house felt like a museum of grief. Every photo frame a weight, every room an echo. For months, he barely spoke. He moved like a shadow, quiet and unnoticed. But one morning, he walked to the park, sat on the bench they used to share, and looked around. Trash. Scattered bottles, chip bags, even cigarette butts under their tree. It made him angry, and then it made him remember. That's when he picked up a few wrappers and put them in a plastic bag from his pocket. That day, he cleaned for 5 minutes. The next day, 10. Soon, it became his ritual. Now, every morning without fail, Thomas walked the same loop. He didn't need motivation. He didn't need applause. He was honoring her, her memory, her voice, her love for this little corner of the world. He didn't speak much about it. When people asked, he'd just smile and say, "Someone's got to do it." But his eyes said more. Eventually, people started noticing. A jogger named Rachel began to greet him every morning. A teenager named Jake, who used a skateboard near the benches, started helping him on weekends. One day, a group of local kids put up a handmade sign at the park entrance. "Thank you, Park Grandpa." Thomas chuckled when he saw it, but didn't stop his work. One summer evening, the mayor of Willow Creek visited the park with a small ceremony. They offered Thomas a plaque and a city recognition award. He accepted it humbly, though he didn't much care for the spotlight. "I'm just keeping it clean for someone I love," he said, gently tapping the plaque with a smile. Over time, the park became more than just clean. It became a community. People started to care more. They picked up after themselves. They planted flowers. Families came more often. The local school added a lesson about environmental responsibility, inspired by the man who picked up trash. But one morning, Thomas didn't show up. The sun rose like always, but the park felt heavier, quieter. Rachel waited on the bench. Jake rode his skateboard slower than usual. By afternoon, the word had spread. Thomas had passed away peacefully in his sleep, his last day spent doing what he loved. The town held a memorial for him, not in a church or a hall, but in the park, under the tree he and Emily had loved. People brought flowers, stories, and trash bags. That morning, dozens of people cleaned the park, quietly, respectfully, for him, for her. And on the bench where he once sat, a small plaque was added. He did it for her, and for us all. Love doesn't end when someone's gone. It lives on through what we do in their memory. Every act of kindness, every effort to make the world a little better, that's how love endures. Not in grand gestures, but in quiet devotion. If this story moved you, take a moment to do something meaningful today. Clean a corner of your world, help someone in silence, or simply share this story with a friend who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Wisdom Tales for more powerful stories that remind us what really matters. Leave a comment. What would you do to honor someone you love?